The National Weather Service.
Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Join Alaska Public Media as we welcome Rick Steves of the Rick Steves Europe on September 26th at 8 p.m. for Connecting with the World Through Travel. The host of the popular public television series Rick Steves Europe radio show Travel with Rick Steves and the best-selling author of more than 50 European travel books will share travel tips and stories from his experiences from all over the world. Information and tickets available at alaskapublic.org, a benefit for Alaska Public Media.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. Up first, the fire danger map here showing, again, quite an area of extreme fire danger through all of the north central interior here, or east central interior, down into the Copper River Basin there, kind of following the Alaska Range here back. Most of the Kuskokwim Valley all extreme today, even though temperatures were down about 10 degrees from what they were yesterday, with extreme fire dangers all the way back to about Kuskokwim Bay. And again, the cooler, more marine air, or the marine cooler air, moved up into the Susitna Valley today from Cook Inlet, and that kind of snuffed out the extreme fire dangers that were out yesterday for there, but still high and very high fire dangers extending from there all the way down across the Kenai Peninsula. And also, didn't get it on here, but there's high fire danger again over the northern southeast coast. And the forecast is for extreme fire danger warnings out for the Yukon Flats and surrounding uplands. This out for tonight through midnight Sunday. Also for the northern Koyukuk Valley and the southeastern Brooks Range. Those all due to low humidities expected to continue for tonight and again right through tomorrow evening. On to the satellite imagery. Yesterday was another hot, dry day in the interior. Again, all the way down into the Kuskokwim Valley, but thunderstorms began to develop over the Talkeetna Mountains, a pretty good cluster of them yesterday, and also over the Koyukuk Valley, extending northward into the Kobuk and Koyukuk Valley there, and then kind of building eastward throughout the day there north of Fairbanks, and then everything sort of expanding from there into the evening. Some clouds and a few isolated showers up there over the east central north slope, but a lot of clear skies back out over the northern Bering, western Arctic coast, as well as the southeast interior, seeing some mostly cloudy skies to the south, better conditions to the north, and we had this front bringing the gale force winds into the central Aleutians with rain. That today pushing eastward, winds not all that strong, no gales out anymore with this system, kind of weakening, but the rain mostly on the windward side of the Fox Islands here. But the winds did kick up southeast 15 to 25 miles per hour, but Cold Bay's had gusts up to 35 miles per hour today there on the Alaska Peninsula. Still mostly clear skies here through the northern Bering Sea, up through the Strait, the Seward Peninsula, all in sunshine. Even the Arctic coast up there, temperatures rising into the upper 70s at Deadhorse this afternoon with sunshine just about the entire stretch of the coastline. Look, pick up a few clouds over there toward Kaktovik and into Arctic Village. But again, thunderstorms developing this afternoon. First starting up here in the Koyukuk Valley and extending this afternoon from about Indian Mountain and Bettles, east-southeast along the mountains there to the north of the central Tanana Valley, extending down over toward Eagle in that area there, and then also thunderstorms developing over the central and eastern Alaska Range, and then again popping up right there over the Talkeetna Mountains. And on the chart here, you can see the marine layer, low clouds that pushed in across Cook Inlet last night in the Kenai Peninsula, extending all the way up through the Susitna Valley. And it's mostly sunny, though, over the Copper River Basin again. Clouds up along the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, down to about Kodiak Island there, cloudy day in that area. And a reversal in the wind direction brought the low clouds up on the Pacific side of the peninsula, clearing it out on the Bering Sea side there, that fog bank pulling off to the northwest there with those southeast winds, especially kicking up there in Cold Bay. Front right across the eastern Aleutians with some rain and breezy conditions, and then clouds and showers for the remainder of the Aleutians out there. And then again, the clear skies up over the North Slope areas in the Arctic coast. That'll continue into tonight. Maybe a little bit of patchy fog at extreme east side there, but again, mostly cloudy here for the Kenai Peninsula and Cook Inlet. Still looking for areas of smoke to develop and move northward in the Anchorage area after midnight and then persist into the morning hours. Otherwise, scattered showers, thunderstorms here across the Alaska Range, Talkeetnas. Western Alaska Range probably see some isolated thunderstorms this evening with showers back toward eastern Norton Sound, scattered thunderstorms along that trough axis into the eastern interior. Another partly to mostly night tonight there for the southeast coast, and rain continues, or at least stays in the forecast, stays damp and unsettled here for the eastern Aleutians. Chance of rain for the, say, False Pass, Cape Sarachev area of the Alaska Peninsula, but the southeast wind flow pulling some moisture and low clouds could drop some light rain or drizzle here with areas of fog from about Chignik over to Sand Point. There's a chance of showers over Kodiak Island, but staying mostly clear here over Bristol Bay. Remaining clear St. Matthew Island, Nunivak Island areas up through the Bering Strait and the Chukchi Sea, and should be a clear night for the Brooks Range, most of it anyway, and the North Slope. And looking ahead to tomorrow, again, most of the shower and thunderstorm activity will stay east of the border here from the southeast coast, but there's a chance of showers up over the northern panhandle. Otherwise, partly to mostly sunny conditions again. Partly to mostly sunny over the Copper River Basin, mostly cloudy for Cook Inlet, areas of smoke in the morning, then becoming partly sunny in the afternoon and partly cloudy. Risk of an isolated shower over the Kenai Peninsula as well as the Chugach, and then scattered thunderstorms again developing over the western, central, eastern Alaska Range up across the White Mountains, possibly back over toward eastern Norton Sound again where they fired up today. And also a chance of some thunderstorm activity now over the Kilbrook Mountains, but it should be a mostly sunny day and temperatures should rebound back into the 80s there over the Kuskokwim Valley, and even the Yukon and Kuskokwim Delta areas should see temperatures warmer than what you saw today, and temperatures in the mid 80s again for the Tanana Valley, and nothing but sun from north of the Tanana Valley across the upper Yukon, Koyukuk, Kobuk Valleys right up to the Arctic coast. Another sunny day with good VFR flying again for Sunday. And then for Monday, that front kind of slides off to the east, leaving just a few scattered showers behind the Alaska Peninsula, some fog for Unalaska, the Pribilofs. That area of fog now advancing northward, possibly reaching Nunivak Island, but just staying south of St. Lawrence Island. So that means another clear VFR day for the Yukon Delta up through the Bering Strait. Then this trough kind of slides southeastward, bringing a few scattered showers into the eastern Arctic coast. North Slope areas back down in toward the Anatuvik, possibly as far south as the northern Koyukuk Valley. But that's about it. Again, the same thunderstorm development pattern going on along the Alaska Range. Showers, isolated thunderstorms over the Talkeetnas, possibly the Chugach and the western Alaska Range areas, and the upper Tanana Valley 40-mile country, seeing some isolated scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon. Still a chance of showers over the northern southeast coast, scattered showers, pretty isolated, just the same pattern there. West-northwest breezes and partly to mostly cloudy skies with partly to mostly sunny afternoons, and clouds, low clouds and fog here for the east side of Kodiak Island. Also, that's going to be on the increase now over the central and eastern Arctic coast. Low clouds and fog likely, and not so much back on the west side. Temperatures this afternoon across the panhandle, upper 50s to upper 60s. Juneau reached 70 degrees this afternoon, 59 with clouds both at Yakutat, 58 and cloudy at Cordova. Valdez up to 63, 62 in Anchorage, 59 Kenai, 62 at Homer, 55 and cloudy there at Kodiak, 74 up at Gulkana in the Copper River Basin. Tanana Valley, mid to upper 70s, 76 at Tanana, 77 at Fairbanks. They picked up about 7/100 of an inch of rain in the last 24 hours, but Chicken had nearly half an inch of rain in that same time period in Paxson, and Eagle Summit picking up about 1/3 of an inch of rain. So those thunderstorms weren't entirely dry. Some of them are on the wet side. Farther up to the north, the upper Yukon Valley, 82 degrees this afternoon, both at Eagle and Fort Yukon, although Eagle did push up to 83, which was not the warm spot in the state. That was at Tanana. Otherwise, we had 81 at Ambler today, 75 at Noatak, 59 at Kivalina, 70 degrees at Cape Lisburne, with southwest winds gusting over 20 miles per hour. There's that 77 at Dead Horse, 30 degrees cooler at Barrow with 47, near 70 at Atchison, and a 59 at Wainwright. Mid-60s here on the southern coast of the Seward Peninsula. McGrath, 75 degrees, 73 at Sleepmute. Sparavon up to 68, about the same over at Bethel, near 70 degrees. And that's a Amonic was 79 degrees, St. Mary's had 74, Macquariak up to 68 and with sunshine there, and St. Paul 48, but the sun did come out St. George and it rose up to 53 this afternoon. Alaska Peninsula, upper 40s there at Falls Pass, otherwise 50s and 60s there. Port Hayden and Pilot Point seeing upper 60s, 50 degrees at Adak. Lows tonight mostly in the upper 40s to mid 50s through much of the interior, upper 30s along areas and portions of the Arctic coast, otherwise milder over the north slope, upper 40s and lower 50s for the Panhandle, and that same pattern of the 40s here for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Highs for tomorrow, again, kind of rebounding back up to 85 for McGrath tomorrow, and then 80s all the way down to Bethel, north across the Yukon Delta, mid-80s for the Tanana Valley, even the upper Yukon there, 84 at Fort Yukon, 82 the forecast high for Ambler, and 79 at Noatak. 50s to upper 60s there along the Arctic coast, and mostly in the 60s or 65 to 70 there along the southeast coast, a little cooler along the outer coastline, and highs mostly in the 50s here for the Aleutians and the Bering Sea. Flying weather, lots of IFR out there over the Bering Sea with marginal VFR again. A little farther north than it was today here are the Pribilos, but still staying well off the southwest coast, and most of that what forms here over Togiak Bay will burn off to VFR by late morning. IFR possible up into the southern inlet areas, marginal VFR, some of that due to smoke, getting a little farther north in Cook Inlet, but marginal VFR all along the coastline. Big area IFR out over the Gulf of Alaska to just south of Kodiak Island. Passes Anatuvik VFR, Adigan VFR, forecast for Lake Clark and Merrill, both VFR, chance of a thunderstorm, risk of a thunderstorm for Rainy, staying VFR for windy as well with a risk of a thunderstorm, chance of thunderstorms for Isabel and Mentasta, same forecast. Tanita should be thunderstorm free with VFR flying conditions east and west, and Portage starting out marginal, becoming VFR, Chilkoot and White VFR. For the freezing levels, 12,000 feet here. Again, that's going for tomorrow, actually late tonight, early tomorrow morning. That's going to allow those temperatures to rebound back into the 80s here in the interior areas, and even a little warmer over south central Alaska, 10,000 feet covering about the remainder of the state. Otherwise, we've got 8,000 feet here down where that frontal boundary is stalled out over the eastern Aleutians. And icing threats, maybe isolated to moderate or light to isolated, very isolated, moderate rime or mixed icing for the Fox Islands. Over the Alaska Peninsula, it'd be in that 8,000 to 12,000 foot layer if it occurs at all, but that's the best chance for it is there. Otherwise, no icing anywhere else. Big upper level high here over west central Alaska. So that's keeping the jet stream either well to the north and a couple upper lows here over the northeast Pacific, keeping the southern portion well to the south, so no storms expected to come in at all into the area. So no big changes coming up for the next several days, except something might work over the top and later on next week drop disturbance into the northern part of the state. Otherwise, at 9,000 feet tomorrow, westerly winds 15 to 20 knots, up to 25 knots on the central Arctic coast. Light variable winds under high pressure here over the southwest interior, very light. 5 to 10 knot winds or less here over southeastern interior, with northwest winds 5 to 15 over the Panhandle. And still could see some southeasterlies up to 35 knots there coming into the eastern Aleutians, but the Bering Sea pretty light on the winds, and at 3,000 feet, that's about it. 30 knots there over the eastern Aleutians, otherwise 20 for the Alaska Peninsula. Winds westerly, 10 knots over the north central interior, up to 25 knots from the southwest again for the central and western Arctic coastal areas down to about Cape Lisburne, maybe Point Hope. Light and variable here over the southern interior. And looking at turbulence, again, light to isolated moderate chop, below about 6,000 feet for the Alaska Peninsula here from about Cold Bay west to Dutch Harbor on Alaska in those areas, and then some mechanical turbulence possible there along the central and western Arctic coast with those brisk southwest winds. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
In an emergency, mariners need all the resources available to them. But most mariners don't get to see the contents of their life raft survival pack until they need it.
Look out, you guys, it's coming this way.
This video demonstrates the content and use of life raft survival packs.
What now?
We better see what kind of equipment we have. Let's get organized.
There are 3 types of survival packs in U.S. Coast Guard approved life rafts. Some are SOLAS approved. SOLAS stands for Safety of Life at Sea. This is the international standard for marine safety items, including the contents of life raft packs. Non-SOLAS coastal packs are found in life rafts normally limited for use within 20 miles of shore in cold water, and within 50 miles in warm water. Coastal packs do not contain flares, water, food, first aid, or thermal protective aids. SOLAS B packs are approved for use in cold water 20 to 50 miles offshore. SOLAS B kits do contain flares and thermal protective aids. SOLAS A life raft packs are approved for use beyond 50 miles from shore. SOLAS A packs are the most complete. SOLAS A packs contain the most flares as well as food, water, and related items. Your life raft canister will be stamped with the type of pack it contains. Know what kind of pack is in your raft and what it contains. During your life raft's annual inspection, equipment is checked and replaced if needed. Make sure your life raft repacker is factory authorized for your brand of life raft to ensure a proper repack. Your vessel should have an abandoned ship bag with supplies to add to your resources. In a survival situation, knowing how to use the equipment is just as important as having the equipment. Studies of casualties show that people who are familiar with their safety gear and who follow a prioritized response have a better chance of surviving an emergency.
It'll save your life. If you know what to expect and you learn how to trust your equipment, I think that's really important, that the equipment does work, and if you know how to use it, and if you know what to expect is going to happen, you can use it and you won't be surprised.
There are 7 steps to follow when your life depends on your life raft and its contents. Your first priority is recognition. Don't abandon the vessel until it is more dangerous to be on the vessel than in the water or life raft. Once you abandon the vessel, you and your crew are still in danger. As you abandon ship into your life raft, take as much with you as you can. Unless the vessel is on fire, stay tied to the lee side of your vessel as long as it is safe to do so. Tied to the vessel, you will be a bigger target for rescuers and you'll remain close to your last reported position.
It was immediate obvious because the boat was at such a tilt that we could hardly stand on deck, and it was getting worse and worse. And the galley and the folks were full of water.
Yeah, they were totally flooded. It seemed like there wasn't even any discussion among us.
Yeah.
We were all on the same page. The consensus was unanimous. We have to abandon ship.
When it's time to cut loose from the vessel, you'll find a safety knife in a sheath just inside or outside the life raft's door.
Looks like she's gonna sink. We better cut it. Oh, there's a knife, Tony, right there.
The knife can be used to cut the painter line to the vessel. An extra knife is found in all life raft equipment packs. Second, take inventory of what you have that can help or hurt you in your situation. Be aware of sharp objects that can puncture the life raft. Remember that you have useful things in your pockets, items taken from the vessel, as well as the contents of your pack. Inventory includes people, equipment, weather, location, and natural resources. A priority is accounting for your crew. The life raft can move faster in the wind than a swimmer can. Use the rubber ring or quoit and line that is always found near the life raft opening to throw to the person in the water.
when we were in the raft, we just made sure that everybody was safe and there, and said great. And then we looked around for things that were floating from the vessel that were hopefully we could use. We saw packages of lunch meat. We saw, actually we were able to get a survival suit.
Find the equipment bag, which is tied onto the floor.
Hey, look, what's this? Hey, instructions.
Follow the immediate action instructions. Locate the survival instructions in the pack. It is vitally important to secure the contents of your survival pack at all times. Loose items can be lost, damaging to you or the life raft, or be swept out the door by a wave.
Oh, it looks like you cut yourself pretty bad getting off the boat. You better take care of that. Got a first aid kit and a life raft kit.
Assess yourself and others for injuries. First aid supplies are found in Solus A and B packs only.
To keep us from all getting seasick, maybe we should take some of these pills. Let's do that. I got them out of the kit here. Here's some seasick pill.
If there is any kind of sea running, find and take the seasickness pills. Even if you usually do not experience seasickness, you will probably succumb to seasickness in a life raft.
Well, we were really seasick, and we thought maybe if we ate something we'd feel better, but we didn't. It got worse.
You didn't happen to catch that last weather forecast, did you, there, Captain?
Evaluate the weather.
I did hear the last forecast. It's supposed to pick up a little bit out of the south tonight. It's good we've got a sea anchor in the water. It's going to hold us on location.
You can have additional items such as a desalinator pump, personal medications, or a VHF radio placed into your life raft pack.
West to northwest winds at about 15 knots here out along the coast, with seas running 3 to 4 feet. Not much difference over the central and southern inner channels, but Lynn Canal southerlies up to 20 knots, seas 4 feet. And that holds through Monday up there for northern Lynn Canal. For Stevens Passage, southerlies at about 10 knots, pretty light there, and then northwest 15 with 3-foot seas for Clarence Strait. West-northwest winds out along the coast at about 15 knots, but for the south-central coast here, it looks like northwesterlies up to 20 knots with 4-foot seas. And for Prince William Sound, northern Cook Inlet, southwest winds at about 10 knots, southeast at 10 here for the Kamishak Bay area, and light variable winds for Kodiak Island, just about all the way around here, and light variable winds 10 knots or less here for the North Gulf Coast. And the forecast for Monday, southwesterlies now at about 15 knots with 3 to 4 foot seas for the North Gulf Coast. The Barren Islands southerly winds at 15 knots, southwest 15 knots up Cook Inlet there with 4-foot seas, otherwise light variable winds for Kamishak Bay down across Shelikof Strait. Easterlies at about 20 there for Kodiak Island with seas up to about 6 feet. And going out to Bristol Bay, southeast winds on the light side tomorrow with easterlies at 15 knots here on the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula, but small craft advisories here on the Pacific side for easterlies up to 25 knots, and those seas building to 9 feet with southeast winds at 15 knots from Sitkinak over to Sand Point. And then for Monday, easterly winds here all the way across back up to Kodiak Island there at about 20 knots with 6 to 7 foot seas. Light southeasterly breeze there for Bristol Bay, and east winds at about 15 here for the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. And out in the Fox Islands tomorrow, easterly winds 15 to 20 knots there with northeast winds across Adak and Atk at about 10 to 15 knots with 5 to 7 foot seas. Northerly winds 10 to 15 knots for the western zone. And then taking a look at the outlook for Monday, still light northerly winds out here west of Adak, northeast 15 knots for the central Aleutians, and the Fox Islands east-northeast winds at about 15 to 20 knots, with those seas running 4 to 7 feet. Up along the southwest coast tomorrow, light variable winds here all along the coast, 10 knots or less with seas 2 to 3 feet or less. Southwesterlies at about 15 for St. Lawrence Island with 2-foot seas. Light variable winds here across the northern Bering Sea. The Pribilofs easterly at about 15 with seas up to 4 feet. And then those turn northerly, same speed and same wave height here for Monday. Light variable winds continue over the northern Bering Sea, And northerlies up to 20 knots here north of Nunivak Island, but south of the island, southwesterlies at about 15 into Kuskokwim Bay. Westerlies 20 knots there for St. Lawrence Island with seas at about 4 feet. Up along the north slope, eastern Arctic coast, westerlies 10 to 15 knots there, 15-knot winds from the west back across the central coast. Southwesterlies 20 knots here for the western Arctic coast all the way down to Wales there into the Bering Strait with those southwest winds 20 knots, but seas at about 4 feet the entire stretch of the way. And then for Monday, looks like winds not changing direction all that much, staying westerly here along the central and eastern Arctic coast, but picking up a little bit, 20 knots all through those areas. Northwesterlies at 15 knots for the western coast. And from Wales all the way up to Cape Beaufort, looks like southwesterlies at about 20 knots. A little lighter here around Cape Lisburne and Point Hope, but still from the southwest. And looking at tonight again, scattered showers, thunderstorms here along the Alaska Range. Areas of smoke on the increase in the forecast still for northern Cook Inlet and the Anchorage area after midnight, with scattered thunderstorms across the White Mountains back into the Koyukuk Valley, with some showers back toward the eastern Norton Sound area. Chance of rain still in the forecast for the eastern Aleutians, with less of a chance for the Alaska Peninsula, but still look for those east to southeast winds, 15 to 25 knots. The highest gusts there over toward Cold Bay, but diminishing for the Fox Islands. And then for tomorrow, that front kind of stuck down there, so that's where the weather will stay kind of damp and unsettled there, with chance of showers for Kodiak Island. Again, scattered thunderstorms developing over the mountainous terrain of mostly the southeast interior, possibly again over toward eastern Norton Sound and over the Kilbrook Mountains. And Monday, again, temperatures into the 70s and 80s with scattered thunderstorms over the southeast interior, especially the Alaska Range and the White Mountains. Chance of showers over the Chugach.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX Brief for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.